Good afternoon, Facebook. Happy Tuesday. Hope you guys have had a productive day. I want to talk about a very sensitive subject of conversation, and it's actually sensitive because it affects so many working professionals today. Statistics, and somebody once told me statistics are just numbers that people make up to get a point across or to cause an impact. So I don't know exactly how accurate this is, but statistics show that 1 in 6 Americans have student loans that they need to pay. And seeing as how pretty much almost every single professional that I run into has student loans that they need to pay, at least in in my circle of influence and the people that I know, it's almost 5 out of every 6 Americans has student loans that they need to pay. But generally speaking, I work with a younger crowd, people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. And therefore, I mean, in order for them to be able to pay for school, they had to take out student loans. And I can understand that. But I want to go over this very briefly because a lot of you guys have gotten to a point where you guys have children and your children are not necessarily children anymore. They're probably juniors or seniors in high school, getting ready to embark on this journey that's called life. And for a lot of them, they're going to have to take out student loans in order for them to go to college. Now, I firmly believe that once you turn 18, it really becomes your responsibility to get to where you need to be. Now, you should always have support and guidance from your parents, but let's say for example, me, when I turned 18, the way I was able to pay for college was I got some scholarships, I was able to get some grants, and I was also uh, able to get some student loans, which I was able to pay off in a very quick amount of time. But here's my concern with student loans, and here's why you really need to sit down and have a serious conversation with your kids about this before they go and make all of these decisions where they're going to rack up thousands and thousands of dollars of student loans. First of all, when you take out a loan for anything, let's say you take out a loan for a mortgage or you take out a credit card loan or you take out any type of loan, if there ever comes a time where you're in such a severe financial hardship, you can always declare bankruptcy. And what that means is you're basically telling all the financial institutions that you borrowed money from that, hey man, you're broke. And so yes, when you declare bankruptcy, your credit goes to shit real quick. And it's not necessarily an ideal scenario, but generally speaking, you're kind of like creating a clean slate, with the exception of student loans. So even though you may find some research that says that in certain scenarios you can declare bankruptcy and that'll also take care of your student loans, most of the time that's not going to be the case. Most of the time, it doesn't matter how messed up your financial situation is, you're gonna have to pay back those student loans at some point. It even goes as far as the government withholding your tax refunds if you owe them student loan money. So here's my problem with this. Why is it that with any other type of debt, let's say for example you end up in the hospital and you just go through just a really bad financial stretch. Why is it that with every type of loan, why is it that you can tell banks, hey man, I'm sorry guys, I just can't pay you? Why is it that you can tell everybody else, guys, I'm really going through a bad financial situation, I can't pay you, but you can't tell the government, hey, I'm going through a bad situation, I can't pay you? Why is it that the government is the only one exempt from that rule? Well, it's because really when you get student loans, I mean, they're the ones that are saying, hey, we're loaning you this money so that you can become a better professional, quote unquote, better professional, so you can become part of the working force, so you can be a contributing member of society. Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly okay with that. Everybody should strive to be a contributing member of society. But here's the problem. When you go and you get $50,000 worth of student loans, and then you go and you get your first job, and your first job is paying you $40,000 a year, it takes you a very long time to get rid of those loans. Now, I'm not saying that the interest rate on those loans is very high, but what I am saying is it would be a lot easier for you to advance financially if you didn't have those loans in the first place. So, why do I think this is so relevant and so important? Why do I think this is such an important topic of conversation that you need to have with your kids if they're in high school? They need to understand that the moment that they choose to embark on higher level education and the moment that they choose to start borrowing money for this, they're gonna have to pay that back. And depending on the career that they are choosing, will determine how long it's going to take for them to pay that money back. And when a lot of these kids go to these institutions, these universities that maybe are in a big city where the cost of living is just outrageous, or they go to a different state, so maybe they live in Texas and they want to go to Ohio or California or Florida or whatever, it's going to cost a lot of money, which means they're going to have to borrow a lot of money, and they're going to have to pay that money back. You see, adulting doesn't hit you until it hits you, and that usually happens after you finish your career. So let's take a look at two different scenarios. Let's say we have Jack and we have Jim. We have two individuals that are going off to either one's going to go to college and one's going to do vocational training. We have Jack and Jim. Jack is going to college. His parents, very humble people. They don't have the means to pay for college for him, so he's going to have to take student loans. Let's say Jack wants to be a teacher, wants to be an educator, and he wants to go to a prestigious university. He decides that he wants to go to Austin, UT Austin. Okay. Jim is going the vocational training route. And what he's going to do is he's just going to go for 1 year to learn how to become a welder. And he may need to borrow a little bit of money for that, but he's probably going to pay most of that out of pocket. So in one scenario, it's going to take you 4 to 5 years to graduate. You're going to walk away with $60,000 to $70,000 worth of college debt loans. And in the other scenario, you get some training for a year, and by the time you're 19, 20, you're probably an apprentice of some sort. You're making maybe 40 to 50,000. 5 years in, you're probably making 75 to 80,000. Before you hit 30, you'll probably be making six figures. No student loans whatsoever. So here's my dilemma. A lot of the times we push our kids to go to college because that's what we wanted for ourselves, and we weren't able to do that. But you need to understand that the world has changed, and you need to understand that these student loans are like a cancer, and they're designed that way. They are designed to keep you attached to the government in the sense that they want to be able to control your decision making moving forward. I'll give you a perfect example of this. The current administration, and this is not to get into politics. I'm not going to voice concerns, Republican or Democrat or whatever, because most politicians are going to lie to you regardless. But the current administration, one of their biggest pushes in the election campaign was, we're going to look for ways to eliminate student loans. Have they eliminated student loans? Absolutely not. Are they going to? Probably not. Did a lot of people vote for them because they were under the hopes, they were under the influence of hopium? They were under the hopes that was going to happen? Sure. So the government already knows how to pull at the right strings to be able to get elected and then do whatever the hell they want to do. Why? Because you're dependent on them. And any glimpse of hope that they give you, oh, I'm going to vote in this direction, or I'm going to vote in this direction, or whatever. Once again, this is not a Democratic or Republican spiel, but what I'm trying to get you to understand is all politicians lie. Therefore, when they have a means to be able to control your decision making via whatever debt you owe, they're going to use that to their advantage. And your kids need to understand that. They need to understand that, because if you can set them up in a scenario where they can build skills that are valuable in the marketplace, By marketplace, I mean the economy. And there's a lot of skills that are, I'll give you a perfect example of this. Perfect example of this. I have a gentleman working on my ranch right now. He's going to walk away with thousands of dollars when he's all said and done. It's probably going to take him maybe about a week and a half. In a week and a half, he's going to walk away with thousands of dollars that I'm going to have to pay to him for cleaning this ranch that has just gone completely out of control. A working professional that went to school for 4 years and got a degree, it'll take him a month and a half to make what I'm going to pay him in a week and a half. You see, finding skills that are valuable in the marketplace. I'm not saying that going to college is bad. I'm not. There's a lot of degrees that you have to go to college for. Teaching is one of them. You don't become a teacher because you want to be wealthy. You become a teacher because you want to make a difference. You want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer. There's these professions where you have to go to school, and I understand that. But you also need to understand, and you need to explain to your kids the dangers of acquiring this debt, that regardless of how bad their financial situation gets in the future, they're gonna have to pay that shit back. And because a lot of the times they don't understand the severity of this, they make a lot of stupid decisions. Oh, mom, I want to go to Austin to become a teacher. You can become a teacher here in freaking Brownsville, Texas. You can get the same degree. You're going to get paid the exact same amount of money. Oh, I want to be a physical therapist. I want to go to San Antonio. You can do that here in Harlingen. I don't know if you can or not, but I know you can do that here in the Valley. So you have to have these reality check conversations with your kids to keep them from making these stupid decisions that are going to keep them in debt for the next 10 to 15 years. Why? Because if they're able to make these decisions early on and they're able to build a career with skills that bring so much value that can get them to six figures before they're 30, they're able to do so many amazing things. They're able to invest. They're able to purchase property. They're able to buy rental properties. They're able to do all of these things that, unfortunately, those individuals that racked up thousands and thousands of dollars of student loans cannot do. I think a lot of the reasons why people that get into certain professions that ultimately after a couple of years they realize that they hate, the reason why they stick in those professions is because they're so much in debt that they can't really take the luxury or the risk of going and doing anything else, because they have this debt hovering above them that they have to pay off, and they just don't have any wiggle room to be able to take any risk. And I can understand that. Because if you're paying $500 or $600 a month in student loans that you're gonna have to pay regardless, well, it's kind of difficult to say, hey, the hell with my job, I'm gonna go and open a business. It's kind of difficult to say that when you have $50,000 or $60,000 or even more of student debt. So have this heart-to-heart conversation with your kids. Get them to understand that if they do want to go to college, they need to be very aware of the amount of expenses that they're going to acquire in the process. Now, if you were one of those parents that was able to save money for their kids for college is just getting drastically more expensive every single year. So there's a very good chance that regardless of what you saved, they're still going to have to take some loans. Almost guaranteed. By the time they get to college, that college is just going to be ridiculously expensive. But there's other ways to bring value to the marketplace. And maybe your kids don't want to go to college. Maybe they want to do something else. I don't know. The important thing here is for them to build skills. And if those skills they're going to acquire at a university, more power to them. I'm never going to say that universities or going the university route is bad. Everybody makes their own decision, basing it on what they want to do with their life. But I will tell you that they do need to be aware. They do need to be massively aware of the dangers of student loans. Because if not, they're just going to rack that shit up and they're, oh, you know what? I failed a couple of classes this semester. It doesn't matter. I'll retake them next semester. Oh, well, it was going to take me 4 years to graduate. Now it's going to take me 5. And well, now I've been here for 6. And now I'm a super senior. I've been here for 8. That shit is not good. That is not good. That debt just keeps on growing and growing and growing. And then they finally graduate and they get their first job making $45,000 a year, and they are already $80,000 in freaking debt. That's almost a mortgage. Have this conversation with their kids. Make them aware that their decision making as soon as they decide to either go to college or whatever it is that they want to do after they graduate high school. And if they want to take loans for that, there's definitely definitely consequences to that. And trying to keep costs as minimal as possible. So let's say you already determined that you have to go to university of whatever to be able to do what you want to do. You already determined that you have to go to school for that. Fine. Figure out a way to keep costs as low as possible so that you borrow the most minimal amount of money as possible. I've had this spiel before, but now I'm getting a little bit more into the financial side. I've had a Facebook Live about this in the past where I was talking about, why go to a university in a big city when you can do that here in a local community college or a local university, still live at home and save a lot of money. Have this conversation with your kids. Get them to understand that the moment that they leave high school and they start borrowing money, that there are consequences to doing so. And I would much rather these young professionals keep these costs as low as possible and put themselves in a financial situation to win than have them go and borrow all this money for the same end result and then be in debt for the next 15 years. You have to have heart-to-heart conversation with your kids. A lot of the times it's not something that they want to hear, because I guarantee you, if they were anything like me when I was 18, the last thing that they want to do is stay home for another 4 years. But a lot of the times this is going to pave the road for the rest of their lives. And unless you, as a parent, have this conversation with them, a lot of the times nobody will. And they're going to continue to make the same mistakes that so many young professionals make. And then unfortunately, they can't find the door later on in life because things have gotten so bad. They don't make enough money and they're so far in debt that it's very difficult for them to be able to find their financial stability. For what it's worth, that's my 2 cents. I hope it helps. And like I said, my content is just here to just kind of get some light bulbs to turn on and basically to help people make better financial decisions. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll be back with you with some more content later on. Thank you.